A lot of our recent research on BYOD and the enterprise mobile strategy has shown up security to be a concern in these areas. What does this research have to say about this topic?
Yes, we asked a number of questions about different types of security threat, both external and internal. So there's internal security threats. We'll have covered areas such as the use of personal devices, mobile devices and so on. And in fact, what we discovered is that these are some of the areas that IT managers are most sensitive to in terms of threat.
Right.
You know, for example, thinking about employee attitudes to IT security protocols. You know, 75% of IT managers regard that as a threat or a serious threat. Similarly, the personal use of cloud storage, such as Dropbox. Again, about 3/4 of IT managers. You know, these were absolutely some of the areas that were regarded as the biggest threat.
So this research reinforces what Vanson Bourne and indeed others are saying about this matter, but is there any other way of looking at what's come out of the work?
Yes, if we take employee behaviour, for example, and look at how IT managers regard that as a threat or not, and on the other hand measure the extent to which they feel confident that they've got the protection systems in place, we see that there's quite a large gap emerging in certain of those BYOD areas. For example, if you look at that topic I mentioned earlier, employee attitude to IT security protocols, fully 77% of IT managers surveyed said that they regard that particular issue as a threat or a major threat. Whereas quite shockingly, when asked if they were confident that they got protection in place, particularly to defend themselves against that issue, only 2% said that they have confidence, entire confidence in their systems. So, you know, what we're describing there is quite a confidence gap, you know, and at 75%, that was by far the largest confidence gap we measured in the survey.
So enterprises are much more confident about their protection measures against other threats?
Well, you know, 2% is a very low base, but looking across all the different threats that we surveyed, typically only 12 to 15% of IT managers were able to describe themselves as entirely confident in terms of any of the protection systems that they have. So on the one hand, we certainly can't describe them as being complacent, particularly when we look at the other side of the coin, how many of them regard those threats as being serious threats to their organisation.
What do you think this area of employee attitude towards security protocol shows the largest confidence gap? Why is that?
Well, it's an interesting question and one we've thought about. You know, one interpretation might be that thinking about the array of security threats that we talk to these IT managers about, many of them, you know, thinking about malware, about external threats and so on, you know, those are essentially, it's possible to protect using a technology solution. When you think about employee attitude, however, it's not really a technology solution at all. It's much more of a corporate mindset issue. It's about education, it's about reinforcement, it's about continuously going through that process. And you can understand why IT managers thinking about security would be concerned about that, particularly when asked about employees' attitude to security. Fully 65% of the IT managers said that they believe that employees regard security protocols as a hindrance when they're doing their work.